領域展開無料空所
Everyone and their mother has been making a Jujutsu Kaisen Chapter 261 video, and so I kind of wanted to dive into that and talk about the chapter as well, because honestly, it's probably one of the best chapters of the series. Like, it is easily one of my top 5 favorite chapters. And the reason for that is because what it does for the story is it gives us beautiful character development for Yuta. It gives us more context to Gojo. It has the final fight with Sukuna really just being built up to a higher degree than it already was. And it answers the question that people have been begging, is Gojo going to return or not? And on top of that, we just have some really good moments with like the artwork and stuff, like just this Yuta panel where you just see like, you know, Gojo, and then he opens his eyes and all that, and you just see how it has the Kenjaku, like, you know, stitches on the forehead. It's legitimately such a crazy reveal, crazy chapter, and there's just a lot to talk about when it comes to this, because it talks about the fate of Yuta. Is he going to die or not? Is he going to survive these circumstances of using Kenjaku's curse technique and being in Gojo's body? Will Yuta surpass Gojo? Will he become a new monster in the Jujutsu Kaisen world? You know, what does it mean to be a Jujutsu Kaisen sorcerer? On top of that, just seeing the clash of domains once again, a Malevolent Shrine and Unlimited Void, is something, honestly, I did not expect to see again. And seeing it like 30 chapters later, it's just honestly an experience. And so, it makes a lot of sense why just so many people are talking about this chapter. Like, everybody is discussing it, not just, let's say, on YouTube here, but let's say on TikTok, on Twitter, on Reddit, just everywhere. Probably on Facebook as well. I don't use Facebook, but, you know, basically, it's definitely being talked about everywhere. JJK is always trending, and it makes a lot of sense, because it's like, for about 6 months now, maybe 8 months, like, Sukuna has been running the gauntlet, constantly bringing down every single fighter that stands before him. People get their power-ups, people get their buffs, but Sukuna prevails. He beats them down and showcases that he really is the king of curses. He is the king, and that he is just overwhelmingly powerful. And Gege-sensei has obviously done a tremendous job with basically building up Sukuna as this overwhelming threat, where people even talk about how there's just no way that, you know, the good guys are going to win. Sukuna should win because it just makes sense. Even I made a video talking about it because it made sense. But with all the recent twists and turns and developments, Gege really has done such a good job with these latest chapters. And so let's just dive headfirst right into it. So let's talk about just Yuta and his current circumstance and what it means for him as a character. The fact that he took it upon himself to become a monster is something that really just shows his commitment and how he's willing to do anything to be able to bring down Sukuna, but it also showcases how dark and gritty the world of Jujutsu Kaisen actually is. Now, this has always been in our face, it's always been present, it's not something that is brand new, it's more or less just, once again, reinforcing the very themes that is within JJK, and that is that the world is unfair. Like, it's not kind. It's just, it will take and take and take and will never return back to you. It will leave you in despair. And this is why curses are born. This is why people die in this story. Why people die in just such a, you know, I guess, horrific way. And they never really have to, they have lingering regrets. There's so much that the story has given us in terms of context that JJK is just a world you do not want to live in. And this moment here with Yuta talking about how he would use Kenjaku's technique and transplant his own brain into Gojo's body if Gojo dies is such a emotional move, because obviously it's like, you know, if Gojo does lose, like, when this happened, when he made this statement, he was like, if Gojo does lose, I'm going to have to do this. I will have to take measures of, you know, using Kenjaku's technique and going in Gojo's body, for instance, transplanting his own brain. And this is basically saying there is a possibility that Gojo might not win. Obviously, Gojo going into this fight, he didn't think he was going to lose. He had no intention of losing. But the point of the matter is that what is done, and Gojo did lose, Gojo did die. And the big thing about this is that thanks to this prep work and just, you know, preparing for potentially the worst case scenario, Yuta now is in Gojo's body, and obviously this circumstance, this plan is probably one of the worst things that Yuta could have done. Obviously it's the best in terms of trying to bring down Sukuna, but it is the worst thing in terms of his life, because obviously it is stated here by Mei herself. She talks about it, like there is 3 distinct possibilities of just how this situation can end up, to where like Kenjaku's curse technique, there's a lot of mystery and vagueness around it. It could be a curse technique that's always active, it could be a curse technique that activates every so often, or it's a one-time use, and depending on how his curse technique is, will determine if Yuta actually dies after this fight, or dies within 5 minutes, or not. If I had to take an educated guess, because obviously this story's MC is actually Yuji, I'm going to assume that Yuta's going to die. He's going to weaken Sukuna, and he's going to die. But whatever the case may be, this chapter is truly grade A quality, even S grade quality. Gege did so much foreshadowing to this moment that it's actually ridiculous. Like, upon Gojo's death, like, around those chapters, like, 230s, like, in the 230s, there's multiple scenes where you see Yuta's expression, Maki's expression, that showcases a look of dread and just fear, etc., realizing that this circumstance of Yuta being in Gojo's body was definitely about to happen. And I think that, you know, giving more context to those scenes, it showcases that this isn't something that just Gege pulled out of his ass randomly. This was definitely built up for a while. And let's just hypothetically say that Gege did not plan for this. Let's just say we go on a limb here and say Gege did not foreshadow this moment, or he didn't plan for this. The thing is that this very moment and this ability that Yuta is using and being in Gojo's body has already technically been implied that it's possible for a very long time. We know about Rika, we know about Yuta's curse technique and how he, you know, can, you know, duplicate abilities or copy abilities. We know how Kenjaku's ability kind of works. So with all these into consideration, the blueprint, so to speak, of Gojo's body being used like a puppet, so to speak, was there. It was always there. It just Gege put the pieces together as like, I can do this. So even if, let's say, hypothetically, Gege got it in his mind a week ago to do something like this with the chapter, it doesn't change the fact that it doesn't, you know, retcon anything. It doesn't demolish any of the story. It perfectly falls in place with every ability, and it works so freaking well. So regardless if you want to agree that this was foreshadowed or not, it is a good chapter because it really just expands upon Yuta's abilities, Kenjaku's abilities, and just how the, you know, curse techniques can actually work as well. And it also expands upon the theme of body and soul as well, which is a very big prevalent theme throughout JJK, I mean, ever since the very beginning. So it's just like, all these things kind of tie in together with this, you know, fight that's going on right now in JJK Chapter 261. Now, with that being stated, there is something I do want to talk about, and that is the fact, now with this chapter officially being released and being out, and a lot of people have had time to sit on it and think about it, we can definitely say now, Gojo's gone. Gojo's dead. There was a lot of theories. I even kind of pitched in to talk about it. There was theories that, you know, Gojo theoretically could have been like a cursed spirit at the end of chapter 260. You know, it could have been Kenjaku in Gojo's body. Gojo could have actually been resurrected. There's so many things. And I mean, the possibility of Gojo kind of coming back is not necessarily zero. I mean, we got to factor in with Toji and all that type of stuff that happened, you know, in Shibuya. So it's like the possibility of Gojo coming back in some shape or form, even after this, with Yuta in his body, is not zero. It's not. Will it happen, though? I don't know, because obviously we know Gege doesn't like Gojo, and as I made in my discussion of, like, the early leaks, you know, with Yuta now in Gojo's body, Gojo might be everything that, you know, Gege's always wanted from Gojo's character, because obviously he has effectively bottomized Gojo. Gojo does not have the same personality. It's not the Gojo that we know and love. It is Yuta in Gojo's body. So he obviously likes Yuta. He does like Yuta's personality. So Yuta's personality being in Gojo's body, I think he would be very happy with the said character. With that being pushed to the side, though, one thing that does need to be stated as well, though, is that, yeah, Gojo is dead. And I love this chapter for that, because obviously Gojo sells merchandise. And if there's anyone that knows this more than anyone else in the world, it is definitely Gege-sensei, you know, the author of JJK. Because as much as he wants to rag on Gojo, hate on Gojo, etc., I'm willing to bet you he's smart enough to realize that Gojo does sell his story. Like, hell, when chapter, like, 236, 234, whatever, like, you know, when Gojo died chapter, you know, that chapter trended so much, okay, you could not escape it. And the thing is that with everything that was given with that, you know, it was quite a risky and ballsy move, because Gojo is a fan favorite character for guys, girls, and he really moves the series, so to speak. Everybody talks about Gojo, and the fact that Gege killed such a very important character could have had a lot of backlash towards him, and in some cases did. But the thing is that Gege stuck to his guns and even doubled down within this chapter, which I really respect. I respect that he doubled down and he didn't conform and say, oh, Gojo's actually alive. No, he's like, no, we're just gonna desecrate Gojo's corpse and just have Yuta in his body. I really respect it. I respect just his decision-making with using Gojo even after death, but doing it in a way that doesn't tarnish the death as well. It's really great. He did a good job with that all around. I really have pretty much no complaint whatsoever with that. Now, with that being said, one thing that does need to be talked about, though, is that if Yuta, in fact, dies from this, that's another fan-favorite character that goes down the hole and, like, down the drain, so to speak, and that's gonna be sad, because obviously, you know, Yuta's objective is to become a monster and to try to defeat Sukuna. I don't think he's going to defeat Sukuna. I don't. I really don't, because obviously, at the end of the day, this is a shonen, and Yuji being the shonen protag, I know people don't want to say he's the protag, but he is the shonen protag, okay? You know, push aside your agenda. He is the protag. Usually, the protags have to win against the final villain. That's the truth. That is 100% the truth. So, with that being considered, I don't see, you know, Yuta walking out of this fight unscathed. Like, he's probably going to die. And even if he doesn't die, I don't think he's ever going to be able to go back to his old body. He's going to be stuck in Gojo's body. Some shape or form. But it's a pretty wild chapter, though. But we also got to consider, thanks to the actions that's been taken with chapter 261, we can look at Megumi's fumble, like 10, 15 chapters ago, and showcase, thanks to his fumble, is why Yuta had to do this. So, Megumi really screwed over the cast, with him just, like, being depressed and giving up, so to speak, when Yuji was trying to get him out of Sukuna. It's just wild that Megumi really did fumble this fight. If he would have actually helped out a little bit, you know, Yuta probably wouldn't have had to go to these extremes to be able to face Sukuna and the others as well. So, Megumi has, in a lot of ways, a lot of blood on his hands. Now, before I wrap up the video, though, there is one thing I want to say. I do love just how much attention Gojo gets. Like, this kind of reinforces what I talked about as well, is that, like, Gojo, he moves the series so much that people make fan animations of him, with Yuta being in his body. You have color artwork like this and stuff. It really just shows how many people love Gojo and love JJK, and the commitment is honestly wild. Say whatever you want about JJK, love it, hate it, whatever. The fans are truly dedicated, especially to Gojo, and so you love to see it. It makes a lot of sense why this chapter really blew up in terms of popularity. But okay, I'll leave it at that. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoy my content, you want more of my content in your feed, etc., please subscribe, leave a like, and all that, leave a comment. Chibi out.